what America was and what it can become. This is Liberty Town Hall.
Welcome aboard to Liberty Town Hall. There's Glenn Wilson. I'm Greg Marshall. You know, when we first started having a conversation about, as every show does, they have something that we call show prep meeting, before show meeting, stuff like that. And in the meeting, we discuss what's going to be on the show, how we lay things out, and basically our presentation for you, so we just don't get on here and sound stupid. Now,
we try anyway.
Yeah, we definitely try.
We definitely try that.
Let me throw this one by you. I got to tell you, I felt like a big what started coming out of my mouth when I found out that today's show is going to be talking about, of all things, bird watching. What does bird watching have to do with Liberty or anything else? There is some tie-ins. You'd be surprised, my friend.
Amazing, Greg. We're talking about the whole education process. We're talking about the fact that you have time to actually reflect and kind of relax. And it's a way of involving interest of the young mind to learn how to learn as well. It's really interesting in this interview of how much bird watching can really have an impact on someone's life and our educational system. And so when you have a science teacher that has taught his whole career around the idea of how to get kids to learn, he come up with this camel process, and we're going to be covering this today. And I was amazed at how much bird watching ties into liberty and education. It was amazing, Greg.
So we're going to be talking about camels today. Are you sure we're not getting into global jihad again?
No, this is not global jihad. We're talking about camel.
Well, there's two stories that make it. This camel is not the two-humped variety, by the way. So there's going to be a lot to talk about, and we'll spend some time with it in this segment today, and this episode, I should say. Looking forward to hearing how bird watching actually makes sense for young people, and I've got to say for old as well. I mean, you're never too old to learn new techniques of learning, and never too old to appreciate things that God has given us, to be honest with you.
And keep watching. There's a children's book in this. There's actually a children's book. You might want to get your paper and pencil and get ready to write down this information about the children. It's all about the kids. It's an amazing story.
Then why were you reading it?
I had to get ready for my grandkids, you know? Actually, I learned something in there.
Okay,
yeah.
That's a trick.
Yeah,
Listen to this guy.
What happened to that food at the bird feeder? We'll see.
I can't wait to see that. Full details are coming up, and we hope that you're going to be a part of it with us. Powerful show today. Remember, you can watch it not only now, but you can get repeat episodes later at libertytownhall.com. That's libertytownhall.com.
Wayne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Glenn. Good to be here.
I wanted to ask you, start right out, what's the most active sport activity there is out here for people to be doing? Fastest growing activity outdoors. What is it really?
Well, bird watching has become the fastest growing outdoor activity in America. And there are several hundreds of thousands of people that are getting involved with bird watching today.
I would have never thought that bird watching was one of the most growing sports there was. Why? What's the draw for birds? Why has it become so active?
Well, I think there are a lot of benefits to bird watching. For instance, it gets you outdoors. And when people get outdoors and go hiking in the woods, they feel better. The plants produce oxygen, and I think there's a higher oxygen content in the woods. And take a deep breath and you just feel better. Another thing is the challenge that bird watching provides. Trying to see how many different species of birds you can see. And then there's the attitude that forms when you're trying to achieve an objective. When you want to find a certain number of birds, it gives you a purpose, a reason for being out there, and encourages a positive attitude, which I believe affects your whole being. When I was teaching, I would tell the students, if you want to stay healthy and not get a cold, get proper rest, get proper meals, and keep a good, healthy mental attitude.
So this is really about health as well. This is really about keeping yourself healthy just as much as it is enjoying the birds then.
That's correct.
How can amateur bird watching really contribute to society? What contributions can even someone being an amateur out there do?
Well, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology has an annual backyard bird count, and they encourage Americans to get involved with the bird count. This year, they are expanding it beyond the United States and Canada to the entire world. Many schools in the United States and Canada take part in this annual bird watch, and they encourage students to get involved. And what happens is that during the 4 days of the annual bird count, the participants count the number of each different species of bird that they see. These tally sheets are sent in to the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and they and the Audubon Society and the Bird Studies in Canada put all these statistics together to try to track the migration of the birds. Last year, there were over 104,000 submissions of checklists and over 623 species of birds identified.
So the amateurs, the quote amateurs out there doing this, play a big role in keeping track of the bird migrations as a whole. Then that's really where they come into play.
That is correct.
What percentage? What percentage are amateur versus quote professional bird? What makes up the percentage on that count? Is it more amateurs doing it or professionals doing it?
I'm not sure what the percentage would be, but you have various ornithology experts participating from various universities, which is a handful of people versus upwards of 50,000 participants of citizens. So I believe the percentage of the amateurs is going to be rather high.
Well, okay, I understand the health benefits of being out in the woods and actually just being in a serene environment and relax, and there's obviously more oxygen in a place where there's more plants and trees and stuff. So I understand all the health benefits. What's the benefit of tracking the birds though, Wayne?
Well, one of the things is that the Cornell Lab of Ornithology and the Audubon Society like to know how well the birds are doing, to see which species might be endangered, if there's a sudden drop off in an area and they don't appear somewhere else. They want to know so they can possibly identify something as an endangered species. Also, it helps them as far as generalities of climate and what some of the trends are as to where the birds go. This year, for example, there were sightings of the red-headed woodpecker in Michigan, which is generally a rare thing. We have lots of rose-bellied woodpeckers, but not many of the red-headed woodpeckers. So this is a way of tracking how some of the climate change might occur.
Wayne, we need to take a commercial break here, but when I come back, I want to talk to you about how bird watching can be used as a tool in teaching our children and an education system around it. So when we come right back, we'll ask Wayne, how's our children benefiting from bird watching? Stay tuned. And welcome back to Liberty Town Hall. We're joined via Skype by Wayne Brillhart. Wayne, we were just talking about the birds and the importance of bird watching. And how is it important to be used as a tool for our children to learn in classrooms? How is this such a learning tool?
Well, one of the things that happens when you look out the window at a bird is birds are often moving. And so catching one in flight or seeing one outside is kind of a curious thing. What kind of bird is that? And curiosity is one of the things that helps children learn. When you have their curiosity, you get their attention. That is vital to education. Once you have their attention, they can become motivated and involved. When they're involved in a project, they can learn. And birds are out of doors, and they're a fascinating subject. There are so many different kinds of them. They're not all the same. And so with the great variety of birds that we have, at least over 600 in our country alone, children can get curious about these things and then learn.
Everything from their lifestyles to the way they live, the way they prepare their foods and storage and so on and so forth, right?
Correct.
By the way, is there any birds that actually store up food for the winter, or are they just strictly a scavenger where they just live off the land wherever they can find at the time?
Generally, most of the birds just live off the land and what they can find.
And they manage to survive just fine without any stores?
Yes, what they do is to fly where the food is.
So they
we
migrate.
have a number of birds that fly south. And just as an aside, I saw a red-breasted nuthatch that has come to frequent our place a couple weeks ago. They fly south for the winter. And so all summer long, they're in northern Canada. So the fact they're down here in Michigan could indicate we're in for an early winter.
Ah, so you can even tell by the birds what the climate's going to be this winter kind of mentality. It's almost like your weather forecaster as well.
To some extent, that's true.
Hey, Wayne, what is the camel approach to learning?
Well, to get students to learn, you need to get them involved, which is an I, which means getting them motivated before that, which is your M, and that means getting their attention, the big A. And that is the challenge for teachers today, is to get the students' attention. So my camel approach to learning is use curiosity. Curiosity gets their attention, gets them motivated and involved, and that's when the learning takes place. So when I'm talking with teachers, I tell them they need 2 lesson plans. One for what they want the students to learn, and a second one on how they're going to trick them into it. They need some kind of curiosity.
So it's like a hook to get the kids to be brought into a learning process, not just about the birds, it's about the overall learning process.
Exactly. That is correct.
Now, Wayne, you have a book called The Mystery at the Bird Feeder. How does that tie into camel learning approach?
Well, the book starts out with a curious title, The Mystery at the Bird Feeder. And hopefully that gets the student to open the book and see Purdy, the English setter, who looks after the yard from the top of her doghouse. She looks after the yard and finds the bird feeder on the ground one morning empty, and she wants to know who did it. And so this curiosity and the empty bird feeder on the ground creates some motivation to find out who did it and what happened. And so through the remainder of the book, the student is motivated and involved. And in the process, we have a book full of photographs of birds. Purdy, the dog, talks to the birds. Carl the cardinal, Jimmy the junco, Terry the tufted titmouse, and several others, until they finally find who knocked it down and ate all the bird seed. And so they learn about the birds from the photographs while they're trying to solve the mystery.
So it's a mystery that draws them in, and the answers all along the way are teaching them.
Correct.
You've been a teacher for quite some time, haven't you, Wayne?
Yes. I taught for quite a number of years for the Los Angeles Unified School District, nearly 20 years. And since then, I returned to Michigan, and I did teach at University of Michigan Flint and at Wayne State University.
Are you planning on developing more books along the same lines as what happened at the bird feeder, so that we can expand on this?
Yes, as a matter of fact, The Deer with the Purple Nose will be coming out the first of next year.
The Deer with the Purple Nose. That's interesting.
I like to say I shoot birds with a Canon, which is the camera that I use. But I got this shot and it looked like the nose was purple. And I thought, that has to be my second book. And as we were approaching the end of getting it together, the person working on the graphic design indicated that the picture that I had just wasn't sharp enough. But about that time, this deer showed up in the front yard and posed for me, and I got several good shots. So we were able to put one on the cover of the book. So you'll have the deer with a purple nose right on the cover of the book.
I can't wait to read that to my grandchildren. I think that's going to be awesome.
Yes, Purdy and her brother Rusty are going to try to solve the mystery, how it happened, and there'll be some new birds in there and some from the first book as well. And more books are planned.
Wayne, we have to take a short commercial break. When we return, I want to talk about how your book has been received so far. So we'll be right back with more on Liberty Town Hall. And welcome back to Liberty Town Hall. We're joined with Wayne talking about birds and how that's important to our children. And Wayne, how's your book been received so far?
Well, so far it's been very well received. A number of teachers have made comments about how well it fits in with the classroom, especially if they are participating in the Great Backyard Bird Count. One third grade teacher thought it was a perfect book for her nature library. And so teachers and quite a number of librarians are purchasing the book. And so it has been doing quite well. And having been to many of the art and craft shows, I find a number of people coming to me and telling me that they have purchased the book previously and that their kids or grandkids are really enjoying the book.
Now, Wayne, often there's more than one thing to be learned in a book, especially books that are written for children. What else can children get out of this book?
Well, Glenn, the first of all, I believe teamwork is the main thing. We have Purdy the dog working with 8 different birds trying to solve the mystery. And these different birds are all cooperating together. Another thing is perseverance. When Purdy hears rustling in the woods and thinks it's going to solve the mystery, but what actually happens is some turkeys show up and they say it wasn't them. It wasn't the turkeys that did it. So they had to keep going until they found who did it and solved the mystery. And so perseverance is another thing that can be taught. When they did find the culprit, they did not shoot her, but they showed tolerance. And then one of the big things I think children need to learn is success is its own reward. When Purdy solves the mystery with the help of the birds, she can finally take a nap.
That's kind of nice. Where would people find Mystery at the Bird Feeder? Where would they get a copy of that? Because I want to get a copy for my grandchildren. So,
okay. The website, of course, quite a number of the Wild Birds Unlimited stores are carrying the book. And so if there is a bird supply store nearby, that would be one place to check. And they can always make a purchase from our website. And the website is thebirdbooks.com. And they can use PayPal to pay. And we ship it right out. And when they order from the website, we can personalize it. And if they want it to someone special, they can make a note of that, and we can do that for them.
So you'll even autograph a book for them, correct?
That's correct.
Wayne, you're an awesome guy. Wayne, thank you very much for joining us today and talking about something that really I think everyone can relate to. Go outside, relax, walk around, take a pair of binoculars, and enjoy wildlife as a whole. That's what I think bird watching is kind of cool about. I watch deer in my yard and raccoons and whatnot, and I think just being out there with the animals actually enlightens your spirit a little bit and takes some of the stress off us as well. So I thank you very much for the work you're doing and all your years of dedication taking care of our kids in school. I want to thank you very much for being on the show. I hope you'll come join us again. As being a science teacher, I'm sure you have a lot to talk about that people would enjoy listening to.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate being here.
And we'll be right back with more Liberty Town Hall with our final thoughts.
You know, if you're just tuning in right now, you've got to go back and watch the show, because when you hear us talking the last couple of minutes that Liberty Town Hall did an episode on bird watching, you're going to be like, what? You got to see this one so it makes sense to you. But it was really an interesting episode, Glenn.
Right. I just think it's amazing how a creative teacher can take it outside the classroom, involve the kids' minds, get them into it, get them thinking about what it is to learn. And why do we want to learn? And to see that in a school teacher, I think is refreshing, except he's retired now. So, you know, I think we need to get back more to the basics on how to learn and make learning fun versus focusing on every last minute.
And we wanted to contact anybody in the cloning industry right now, because we want to clone Wayne and see if we can get about 200,000 of him. We need to have teachers who will make a difference and teach kids why it's important to learn how to. That's all for us for today. We appreciate you watching. This has been Liberty Town Hall.
Children should be educated and instructed in the principles of freedom. Defense of the Constitution, John Adams, 1787.